Hello everyone, welcome back to the Winning at Life podcast. It has been a while. Now this podcast, we're actually going to Q&A Mica on female fat loss. So this is going to be a good one. There's going to be a lot of PCOS. There's going to be a lot of information that, overweight women or women who want to lose weight, who want to be a little bit more confident, you're going to learn from this. This is actually our first one as fiancés. So this is our first duo podcast as fiancés. So proposed to Vish in the Maldives in late December.
Just after the last podcast.
So she's finally got her not even. I finally got my wish of you being a fiancé. Right, okay, cool. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to disclaimer, I've got Invisalign in. So if there's moments where I trip over my words, it's because I've got my Invisalign in and apparently I've got a bit of a crossbite, so I've got a weird thing pulling my mouth over. So yeah, but I'm good.
Yeah, cool. Right, okay, so the first question that I've got written down for you is, what's the number one reason why women with PCOS fail losing weight?
The number one, why they fail? There's two number ones. Can I give two?
You give me what you got.
Can I give as much context? So number one is they don't follow the correct plan or path for them. So women with PCOS were often very emotional, very desperate, find ourselves feeling as though nothing's ever going to work. So we tend to go for extreme. So that would come with extreme training, extreme dieting, extremely restrictive. But that's never going to allow longevity. So the biggest reason why I think women give up is because they do too overstretched expectations.
In terms of their diet, keto.
In terms of diet, cutting carbs, cutting sugar, because you don't need to cut it as much as the internet and people will say cut those things as a woman with PCOS. You don't have to. Yes, limiting it for various reasons, which I'm sure we'll speak about, but you don't have to cut it completely because those things are what are keeping you on your diet right now. Cutting it just creates that resistance and then that pull back in and then a big binge. So that's one of them. And then secondly is fluctuations. We're very impatient because we wanted it yesterday. We've struggled all of our lives. So as soon as something isn't happening for us, we get incredibly frustrated and we don't interpret the data correctly. And that's for a lot of women, but I do think women with PCOS are more susceptible to the upset caused by fluctuations because we just already think it doesn't work. So as soon as we see the numbers up, we're like, look, my PCOS just means I'm stuck.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's sometimes a way out, or do you feel like they are genuinely so?
Oh, it's not a way out. I laugh about this all the time. From my own personal experience, I've got messages on my phone, right? And I could probably find these messages where I have quite literally asked coaches who I used to work with years ago, like, can I move? Like, I will move in with you. I will live with you and show you that I don't secret eat. Or I'll wear a GoPro around my chest. That's how insane I went. I actually went so insane. I was wanting to wear a GoPro around my chest to prove that I don't secret eat. So again, this isn't necessarily to just PCOS women, but our brain is able to mask some of your behaviours that you've done, and it almost gets rid of those actions. And I called it out to two of my girls last night. Two of my girls have been samey for 10 days. And because I've been there, I'm able to be like, are you sure that you're doing everything? Like, from a caring place, it's not, I'm not accusing them and I'm not judging them, but I've been there. So I can able to give an example where I've been like, because there was a time where I was forgetting my oat milk and I really wasn't logging it. And then last night, one of my girls replied to me like, yeah, I've my eyes have just come out my head at the thought of not tracking milk, and now I'm wondering how much I've missed, and I've not been wanting to take responsibility for it. So
yeah, 100%. And the way I deal with fluctuations, and the way that possibly anyone listens to this could deal with fluctuations, is always maybe weigh in on a day-to-day. People often weigh in on a week-to-week, but so much can happen hormonally, what time you ate, whether you've been in the toilet, to just weigh in once a week is not really accurate. So like, would you weigh in across 7 days a week and get a weekly average, and just on a week-to-week see if that average is moving at all?
the best way to do it, as painful as it feels in the first instance, and I try and get every woman to do this, because if I can get you to overcome the trauma from the scales, it will snowball. So as much as some of my clients don't like weighing daily at the start because they get frustrated at the fluctuations, if you've got a good coach, they'll take you through that journey. So they'll hold your hand through every wobble, they'll explain what's going on, because I truly believe it's more upsetting to weigh once per week and have a really amazing week. You've tried dead hard, and then you weigh and the scales are up. And I think that's more a bigger pill to swallow than weighing every day and seeing ups, seeing downs, seeing downs, seeing downs, seeing an up, seeing same, because you can explain averages, and women really then heal. It's not just losing weight, but everything that you've known from like 90s culture of Slimming World and stepping on a scale, they really heal themselves.
Yeah, it's like tolerance building. Like, just small little fluctuations on a day-to-day is not as painful as waiting a full week for one weigh-in. This is your one weigh-in and your weight going up.
And fluctuations, it's so predictable. Like, people are like, how are you so psychic? I'm not psychic. Weight is so predictable.
Yeah.
It's so predictable. If you go out and you're going to have a steak, you are going to weigh up the next morning.
Yes. Doesn't mean that fat has gone up.
Yeah, and that's any food, pretty much any restaurant food. If you go out and eat at a restaurant, you are going to be up on the scales, even if the calories are on the menu. So even if you go for a Nando's and the calories are on the menu and you stay within your daily allowance, that's different from what you've been cooking at home. So that's going to have some reaction within your body, inflammation, you know, the saltiness off the chips being fried or whatever. It's going to show, and it doesn't mean that you've put on fat. It just means that your body's responded, and that holds for usually 3 or 4 days. So whenever a woman asks me, Misha, I'm going out, help me with a menu, I'll always say, you're going to see this on the scales until Tuesday. And they will, and then they'll see it drop on the Wednesday, and then they're like, how did you know? Because everyone's the same.
100%. And that's not even with going into hormonal fluctuations. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, my next question is, what effect does PCOS and hormonal issues have on kind of women's fat loss?
It makes it an painful and slow and frustrating process. And I know dieting for anybody can feel that way, but with us women who have PCOS, we, dependent on what your driving force is of PCOS, so if you've got insulin resistance, you're up against really bad body image. You're up against, because you tend to carry your weight around your middle, you know, you start to think, which was me, you know, why doesn't anything work? The cravings, because of your insulin resistance, the way that works scientifically, the cravings are so intense. Like, all you think about is eating, even though you're not necessarily hungry. So that's a spiral in itself. So you tend, if you've got insulin resistance, I tend to see that most of my binge girls, they sit within that space and place. Remind me of the question.
So the question is, how does PCOS and hormonal issues affect fat loss?
Yeah, so, and then there's other drivers, you know, stress, so cortisol.
So,
And when you've got elevated cortisol, that in itself, you know, can make fat loss feel stubborn. You can feel very inflamed, typical, quote, PCOS moon face, but then that causes further eating. So it's just a vicious cycle of one thing knocks something, stress knocks on your gut health and inflammation there. It's just a
And then also from
mayhem.
all of that, there's like an emotional response, which
Yeah.
then you want to eat out of
Yeah.
emotion as well.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like,
hated what I looked like, but I still then wanted to eat. I did it last night, didn't I?
yeah,
What did I say to you? I resisted buying chocolate off of the app when I ordered stuff.
yeah,
And I resisted, but I was in a shitty mood yesterday and all I wanted was comfort. But I didn't do it, which takes a time to get to. And I say this to my girls, I'm years in mastering it and it takes time to master. And it's
100%.
okay if you do give in.
Yeah, it like you will have massive dips where you do eat the
100%.
chocolate, you do binge. It's about
Yeah.
the reaction, surely. Is there ever a case where PCOS, even men or just general hormonal issues, makes it absolutely impossible for an individual to lose weight?
Absolutely impossible. So, absolutely impossible is no. And sometimes I say to my girls, if I was to lock you in a room and throw away the key, would your body just preserve? You know? And they're like, no, it wouldn't. And I'm like, it's not absolutely impossible. It's hard, but it's not impossible. And there's not a woman who's been able to prove me that that's otherwise not true, because every woman who comes on believes it's impossible. Like the amount of women I'd love to like record their calls when they join. Maybe this is a good idea. Record their calls with the permission, of course, and get some of the genuine raw statements that they say on that call to me. And then be like, do you remember when you said this? I quote
I'm
unquote,
broken.
I'm broken. I've tried everything, nothing works. I cannot get below. And for the record, like every woman who's listening to this, or man, you might always have everyone has a number that they don't think that they can get below. So I speak to women, they go, I cannot get below 90. I cannot get below 85. It's not that you can't get below it. Something changes where you haven't got the tools to take you beyond it. And that's either you don't know how to switch things up to keep the consistency going, and it can feel harder, or you start at a point maybe 6 kilos, 7 kilos above that number. And usually the psychology means 6 or 7 weeks of dieting, you reach that number, but then you get bored and give up or get sloppy.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can't get below it. You're doing it on your own to that typical 6-7 weeks, and then it gets boring and you dip off.
I think fat loss gets harder as it goes. So you probably get into a certain point, and then because it's now harder, you need that extra accountability to actually stick to the thing.
Yeah.
And as well, obviously, complacency people are subconsciously complacent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They'll get to a number and they'll
Stop
go,
weighing food.
oh, this is where I feel all right. But I do want to lose more, but I feel all right at this weight.
Yeah.
So it's like complacency creeps in.
I have that conversation with all of my girls because I don't do mediocre results and I won't accept it for them. So I'm very, very stern on that, respectfully, because I love women who join. I've got a woman right now, she joined me at 129 kilos. She's down to 104. She's feeling so much more confident. She wrote it in a check-in last night that she went to a brunch, and usually it's full of gorgeous women. She's beautiful. It's usually full of gorgeous women, so she usually feels really self-conscious, and she felt really confident. And I'm like, that is amazing, but you still have a journey, honey.
Yeah.
I ain't letting you stop at 100 and something because you still need to get down into the 80s. This isn't just about confidence. That's incredible to have that confidence, but let's not shimmy over the fact that it still is important to be healthy.
Yeah.
And when you only take not only, she's lost bloody 24 kilo, but that to me is still etchy, sketchy territory in being able to go up again. I need to take her so far removed from that place that there's just no going back.
Yeah. Well, I always say, like, if you gained 5 kilos, which is very easy to gain 10 pounds, would you then start feeling confident again? If the answer is yes, you're not deep enough of further away from where you need to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You should be able to gain 5 kilos, give or take, and still be fully confident in yourself. Do you know what I mean?
So, yeah.
Amazing. Cool. What kind of supplementation can you give the girls, and you know, if you do give any supplementation at all?
Right. Well, this is a really good question. I've just brought out a 26-page PCOS and herb guide, and this is my own. Like, if I see anybody sharing this as their own and change it, I'll have everyone. 26 pages of herbs and supplements. Now, the thing with PCOS, I see the same supplements mentioned on Instagram and TikTok all of the time. People are doing paid commission and paid ads, and it's always an isotal or doctors prescribe metformin. Sometimes people will take, you know, Vit D, zinc, other things that can be used for other health benefits.
Yeah.
Berberine is one that is starting to be a little bit more mentioned, but there's so many more supplements. And the thing that I can't stress enough is just because someone on TikTok saying use an isotal for
Pretty often, isn't that?
you've got me off.
Because you're eating the mic. Go on, continue.
Am I sitting back?
Yeah.
You're making me feel paranoid.
No, you just
Yeah.
so, go on.
Oh, you're gonna have to ask this question again.
What, you want me to ask it again?
I think so. In case you need to like snip it.
Right, okay, cool. So my next question is, are there any supplements that you'd recommend to the girls to help them out with a PCOS or the fat loss situation?
Yes. So I've got a 26-page guide that I've just put together. It's my own research. And if I see anyone sharing this, I will hit the roof as their own, of course. Like, people can ask for it. So if you want it, like, message me the word podcast, and I'll get that sent over to you. But this is all of my understanding from different herbs and supplements for the different drivers of PCOS. So if you look on TikTok and Instagram, people will mention an isotal, people will mention metformin, sometimes they'll mention berberine. You don't really hear beyond that, to be honest. And these people are getting paid commission, paid work from selling these gummies and stuff. I won't do any of that. What's important to understand is what's your driver of PCOS, and that's what people don't dig into. So there's different drivers of PCOS, and you need to understand your driver to then understand how to supplement. So, you know, is it inflammation? Is it gut health? Is it insulin resistance? Is it post-pill PCOS? Stress? So understanding your driver helps you then to appropriately supplement. And based on that driver, there's different supplements. Some supplements that people are not talking about, probably never heard of, which are more beneficial for their issues. So yeah, I've put a lot of time into developing that guide, and I hope it helps. Women have messaged me back saying like this is the most like thorough support that we've had in terms of PCOS, and that means everything. So
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So if you're listening, you want the PCOS supplementation guide, just message me or Mica PCOS guide, and we'll get it over.
I
Yeah.
just said podcast, but
Oh, did you say podcast?
podcast.
Sorry, yeah. Well, podcast.
Say the
then.
word podcast. That's
Say the
what
word
I heard.
podcast. Right. Okay. Cool. Amazing. So you're saying that a supplementation plan is actually specific to an individual. Someone can't
Yeah.
just search the internet and just kind of guess, you know, what they need.
No way, because these things impact your hormones. Like, you're putting something in to have a desired effect, and someone's saying it's going to stabilize. Well, what if it didn't need stabilizing? You're doing something to your body where that's going to have an effect of being up or down, potentially.
Yeah.
So just putting things in and, you know, hoping it just works isn't beneficial. You need to know. And not only beneficial, it's wasteful money, and you are not getting to the root cause of the issue. So you might take something and think it's going to miraculously fix it, and then get disappointed because it's not, and it's probably just because that's not the right thing for you to take.
Yeah, 100%. You've mentioned the word a couple of times, binging.
Yeah.
If a woman's experiencing binging episodes maybe every weekend, every now and then, which we've been guilty of, by the way.
Oh God, yeah.
Like we are not talking from the top of the tower saying you bingers. We have been bingers. We can't even binge nowadays. We're both in shape. We both stay in shape now. So there is obviously a way to react to that. So how do you help with women sticking to their food? How do you tackle binging? How do you tackle overeating in general?
Honestly, my girls, we practice compassion in being realistic, and people might disagree with this, but I don't care because it works in my space. I'm working with women who have a lot of weight to lose, on average 6-7 stone, recognise themselves as binge eaters. They've been stuck in that cycle for the best part of their adult life. If I was to suggest that coming on board with me is just going to miraculously change that overnight, I'd be setting them up for failure, because they'd think, oh, look at me, I've joined Mica and I'm already still binging, like I'm a failure. So we practice compassion. It's going to happen. Like, it takes time to master and undo, and that's not going to immediately go away. We're on a journey of understanding what works for you, your lifestyle. How do we prevent cravings? So if those things happen, what happened that day? We do a lot of reflection. We'll talk about it. Like, did you not eat? And then you got to 6 p.m. The first thing you ate was a Snickers, and that's just caused a spiral. Like, we really reflect over that day to understand how we prevent that from happening again. If it is something that, we knew there's a gap to fill. Is it someone who keeps immediately leaning for really processed foods hold a place in our plan? I'm never going to say a woman can't have a chocolate bar, but if her binging is so spirally in response to that processed food, then I would be encouraging her to change that for something more volume filling, like a big Greek yogurt bowl, toppings, rather than, Snickers, which has turned into 20 Snickers.
Yeah.
Yogurt bowl tends to knock you sick a bit and you're really full.
Yeah.
And it doesn't create that spike, which then causes the crash, which often then leads to that ravenous, I need more sugar.
Yeah, to pick my energy up.
Yeah. So, it's going to still happen, But yeah, a lot of, it's okay. You still can lose weight this week. And what I think women don't understand is, again, because they don't understand scale data and they don't understand deficit, the science behind it, they think that one evening, and I've had an 8,000 calorie day, haven't I?
Yeah.
I've had an 8,000 calorie day, and people are like, what? I have literally binged so bad on cookies, and it's that addiction to what's coming next. And I know where it went wrong. So we bought 15 cookies from Ben's Cookies, because it was like buy 7 get 8 free. And when you've been a little chunky,
so we got marketed to.
Yeah, we still fall into that trap. So we went on with 15 cookies. I was eating them as I walked away from the store. Do you remember? I tucked into the box, walking around Dubai Mall, scanning a cookie.
You was keeping up with me.
I couldn't stop. We was in the car, getting them from behind the seat and eating them in the car. But what happened was, if that was 7 cookies of just chocolate flavour, milk chocolate, well, I've had 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And it's boring now. Yeah. But we picked different flavours. And because that one was amazing, the addiction just came to chasing that dopamine of, well, what's the next flavour? What's the next flavour? And I remember having that 6th cookie. I think I wanted to leave 2. And you were like, you can't leave me that. And then I'm trying to eat the last cookie. I was like, oh my God. So it can be really, really bad. And we're not behind the door on it. So I think it helps to say to the girls, even though I've done this and that's happened to me, I didn't just gain weight that week and I didn't sabotage any further. I woke up the next morning, I owned it, I spoke about it, I spoke to the girls about it, and I cracked on with my week. What they think they've done is so horrifically bad, then it means that they just need to carry on with that rampage and then draw a line on it on Monday. Yeah. Whereas no, you draw a line on it.
That's where you gain the fat.
Yeah, the fat is gained. And when I say fair enough, 8,000 calories is pretty bad.
We probably gained a pound.
Yeah, but the girls are never that bad. I'm like, listen, I can outdo you, honey. But what they've had when we add up the math, I'm like, you've only just hitting maintenance calories. You're not actually even in a full-blown surplus. And when I explain that to them, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah. We actually had a Five Guys before that, I think it was a Five Guys.
No, we
What was it?
actually had, this is why it was 8,000 calories. So in Dubai, there's a food stall
time out,
vendor. Yeah, so if wherever you're from in the world, you'll have like a market hall or a street food vendors where you have all the multiple little stalls, and that's triggering for us, isn't
Yes.
it? Because we like picky foods, we like to have a bit of the Indian, a little bit of a pizza, and because they can all get dropped off at your table, so like Fright Island in Manchester, and you can have a bit of everything. We had pizza,
Yeah.
we had cheddar burger, we'd had fries, we'd had Indian, picky bits.
And it wouldn't have been that bad if we capped it at that.
No.
Like, it wouldn't have been that bad, but because we'd thought we'd gone a bit too far than what we usually would of an off, because we're allowed an off-plan meal, right? So it's like, because we went a little bit too far, we was like, oh, we may as well just fuck it. And that's just such the wrong attitude. So I'm looking back, do you know what I mean?
But it happens.
100%
and we're still
happens.
here now.
We're here, we're still in shape. It didn't affect us because we didn't let it completely impact our journey. Some people quit completely after one little bit of a binge cycle. Some people actually stop forever. And that's the scariest thing. Like, I know how a million miles away you feel from your goal right now because you've had a bad day, but you're really a couple of days away from feeling back to normal.
Exactly.
Completely.
Like, I didn't even feel too bad. I was a little bit like, hee hee.
Yeah, no, we got away with it.
I spoke to the girls. Some of them were like, oh, I had a binge last night. I was like, psh,
yeah.
You ain't ever
Enjoy
outdoing me. Like, I actually feel a bit like, but could you imagine old me? Old me would have been like in such a spiral, like, look at my behaviour. I'm so bad. Whereas now I'm a bit like, hey, like, check you out. Like, having 8,000 calories and being all right with it.
100%. Like, bodybuilders, after they finish a show, binge. Everyone has binging episodes. Everybody, obviously, they've gone to extremes and they are do it, but like, it's completely not. It's a normal thing to do.
I mean, I'm not glorifying it.
No,
happening,
we're not glorifying binging.
What I'm trying to say is, like, in our space at least, it's gonna happen, and I want you to come on board and know that it's gonna happen, and I want you to know that it's okay to speak about it. We have a very open, vulnerable community space where you can be vulnerable. You can tell us. We want to know what you had and why you had it, and we want to understand the root cause. It's not going to be like, hey, yeah, let's do it again. But the more compassion you have from your coach, who understands what you're going through and how you feel, the girls can speak to us more about it. So then the next time it happens, because we've made them feel like, come on, tell us. We know what's going on so we can further help them. Because the last thing I'd ever want is a woman hiding that from me. And then she doesn't make progress that week. And I'm scratching my head at why she's not made progress. And she's like, oh my God, I'm lying to my coach. Like, it's just not a healthy relationship.
100%. What's your opinion on, a woman 80, 90, 100, 110 kilos, just completely taking out like a food group like carbohydrates just to force herself to lose weight, or coaches doing that for them?
Shocking. Shocking behaviour. And this goes for women with PCOS. You do not need to be cutting carbs. And I've got every single woman on my page who's had transformation. And if you've got 30 kilos to lose, you will lose 30 kilos. And all of them are eating carbs. And they eat chocolate. Like, you do not need to cut it. You need to understand your hormones better and what works for you. And that's probably where you're going wrong right now. But it isn't the carbs. So I think it's really, really bad when people do that, because it just gives a false immediate big drop, which I think creates a toxic situation for their expectations moving forward in life, because they think it's normal to lose 6 pounds in the first week. And again, they don't understand that was never just body fat, that was water. And you feel shit because you've got no energy. You then fear carbs. Like, you shouldn't be fearing carbs. When you're 80, 90, 100, 110, or up to the average start weight within the community is 130 with women at the minute, you haven't got there with not eating carbs. You eat carbs, you eat takeaways, you eat chocolate. So respectfully, you are not going to be able to come back down if we exclude carbs and chocolate. You need it. It holds a place in allowing you to adhere to the plan.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, when we say, like, why is it so hard for women with PCOS or just women in general who have a lot of weight to lose, people don't understand they don't understand the connection between, forget that you're a fitness coach and forget your way of thinking and being optimal and whole foods. There's a lot of psychology that needs to be considered as well.
Yeah.
And it's not just about whole foods and fat loss. There's psychology of how do you manage that person to believe in themselves, to see the path ahead of them as achievable. And if you keep taking foods away that make them trip up, they keep reinforcing to themselves that they're shit.
Yeah.
So there's so much psychology behind it that people just do not understand. It's so annoying.
What I can't handle is people thinking that, you know, anybody trying to lose fat is that stupid that they don't know that the spuds and the veg is healthier than the pizza and the burger.
Yeah,
Of course,
they
everybody
know
knows.
that.
Everybody knows it's healthy.
Yeah.
Like, you trying to push the optimal thing is not you being clever. Like, people think, oh, I can't believe you're pushing this and doing that. No, we understand the psychology because we've been there, and we've also helped hundreds of people. We've seen it in.
It does my head in. These podcasts, by the way, it frustrates me when I put a little snip on and people don't listen to the full thing and they don't get the context. So this will probably be put on social media in the future and someone will be like, oh, you're pushing unhealthy foods. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not pushing unhealthy chocolate. I'm not pushing it. But you tell me, if you have results from 130 kilo women who manage to stay on that diet and never eat chocolate, like, it's not happening. She might tell you she's not had it, but I'm telling you now, and all my girls will back me, because I've had clients say I used to cry in the car eating a Mars bar and not tell my PT or coach. That's not good. That's an unhealthy relationship between the two of you, and your women should feel so safe, to be honest. So I know whole foods and less ingredients and less, difficult words on a packet.
Even the ladies know.
Yeah, they know. But let's not forget, we're helping women who have never been able to lose weight, struggle all of their lives. People who expect a whole food diet from these women, you are the problem, because you're creating that forever yo-yo failed situation for them, because you've tried to just put her on eggs, whole, which, listen, like, that's your way, and I respect that. And I respect if you're doing that for people who are already relatively healthy, they're quite optimal already, they're very, high rocks athletes, they understand, and they're in a position where they really prioritise that, and that's what they've always known. But our women have always prioritised the chocolate and the unhealthier foods. So we need to wean them off.
Every time I've seen someone go majorly off track, right, I've asked for the food logs from the previous week, and they've defaulted back to the chicken and rice, to the eggs, to egg whites, to, just a broccoli salad. And I'm like, you haven't thrown anything in that you enjoy, and now you've way off track. That is the reason. If you actually just sprinkled and microdose little things that you love within every day or within every couple of days, you wouldn't be having this episode now. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I've literally seen it in person that people default back to the healthiest possible foods they can think of and wonder why dieting's so hard.
My girls are so honest with me. So, yes, I'll program Greek yogurt with fruit and, a drop of honey, or, big, beautiful bowl, which me and you are happy with. And people who are really into training, fitness, in a part of the life where they want to feel full and get the protein in, honest to God, if I had £1 for how many times the girls who I help say, I am sick to death of that yogurt,
bowl.
they don't want to eat it. So if I don't change that and remove that and give them by the way, I give them chocolate alongside it, but it's still not enough for them.
not
They don't
nice
want
enough.
the yogurt. It
Yeah.
knocks them sick. It's not what they have. So the amount of times the girls will go, I'm just done with yogurt and I don't enjoy it. I'd rather have this. At the end of the day, my job isn't to judge their decision. If I can still get them to come down over time, lose weight, let them lean into what they want to eat, that's my job.
Yeah, and just hold them accountable to
Because if I don't change it, they'll do what they want anyway, and
not be truthful with you.
not be truthful, and we're not on the same page. They think that I probably just don't want the best. I'm trying to beat them with a protein stick. Like, yeah, you've got to understand the psychology, and I think that's what's so important is I'm not pushing unhealthy foods. So, by the way, and this stresses me the F out, I'm pushing processed foods for my own agenda. You want your clients to stay fat and unhealthy.
Oh my God.
Do not even come at me like that.
Oh my God.
That's what I get on my comments. You want your clients to stay unhealthy. They want to keep No, I wouldn't get the results that I get. So
look at the page, you stupid.
It's not even that. I have been that girl. I'm a huge empath. Like, the upset that I had last night was because of all the weight of the conversations that I've had with women on calls about where they're at in life and the upset that they express on the call. Like, I carry it so heavy. The last thing I want in life is them to stay unhealthy and overweight. So that pisses me off.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think there actually are coaches out there that these women that need to lose weight, they're majorly unhappy, are being quite blinded by some people's marketing? Maybe, like the coach has never had PCOS, never actually been overweight, but is trying to kind of say they're an expert in this field for these women.
And that's just everything in life, isn't it? Like, people push agendas, people push pain, people want to talk to you. And I mean, I mentioned PCOS and I mentioned my experience because I want women to know I get it. And that's what people do on social media. But it has gotten to a point where people are pushing it for their own gain. Like, I mentioned all the supplement stuff. Like, I get asked all the time to be affiliated with some of the biggest brands out there for paid commission to push, supplements, push drinks, powders, and I won't do it because I haven't got enough time a lot of the time to give much context to who needs to take this. I've not spoken to you as an individual, and I don't want to put on my social media that get this, and then you just buy it, and you do that thing where you just blanket buy something because I'm saying it. Like, people look to me now to be like, give me specific help. So yeah, people are mentioning, PCOS and supplements, but I don't know. I just look at that. I look at the content sometimes, and I'm like, you mention the same supplements. There's not really mention of like different drivers. Like, you don't know anything about regulating periods, the tests I have for fertility. So I don't know. Like, I could be wrong, but it's like anything. It's not just PCOS. People do it for everything, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's not even in the fitness world. So you will always come across that. And I just say to women, I still got lots to learn, loads to learn. I'll always keep learning. But just make sure you connect with that person and that, they've got evidence of having helped women who have the issue you have, not just PCOS, but if you want to grow big ass, then you go to the girl who's got proof of growing multiple big asses, and just make sure that the results are there for those women and the testimonials are there. And I am very, very wary of girls who are just constantly pushing supplements and affiliated brands because, yeah, that's their agenda. I think if you care a lot about women and the health of these women and not spending money and not causing harm to themselves, you wouldn't take paid commission and affiliations from brands, and that's just my personal view.
Yeah. And on that note, if you want any kind of further advice, reach out to Misha at Mrs. Winning Fitness, or you can reach out to me at Winning Fitness as well. And if you want the supplement guide, message us podcast, and we will get back to you ASAP. So thank you for joining this podcast. Hope you saw some value.
Questions.
No bonus questions.
None.
Well, we've got more. We've got a lot of work to do.
Okay.
Right. See you in a bit.
Bye.